Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Chuvana Chekutan. With us, we have a very special guest on the show to discuss a lot of things regarding Manchester United. Transfer. It's the transfer season right now, so it's getting really busy, and we've got an important guest with us, Mr. Geert Langendorff, who is a Dutch football expert. He's done loads of works as a journalist, and he's written a book as well. He covers politics, current affairs, Premier League, and even the Championship in the UK. He lives in London, so he covers for various Dutch media publications and also radio stations out there. So um, I've I met Gert in 2020, and we talked about Donny van de Beek when he joined Manchester United. So it's really good to have Gert back into this conversation. So welcome, Gert. How are you
Thank you
doing?
very much. I'm doing very well. It's been a long time. Yeah, last time we spoke was in 2020, and
Yes.
Manchester United haven't really moved forward since then.
Yeah, a lot of changes. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer left, Ralph Rangnick came in, he left, and now Erik ten Hag comes in from Ajax. Yeah, new season to look forward to. And
Mhm.
how are you doing, Krishnan? It's been a long day for us. How's the
Yeah,
weekend?
yeah, weekend is going on well. Hopefully, the rain bit stops a bit and we
Yeah,
can get out of
it's
this.
pouring down here.
Yeah,
Yeah, hopefully we
uh,
can. Yeah,
hopefully
hopefully
the
everything goes
power also
smoothly. Yeah,
works. Yeah,
totally.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing going on as of now. So let's see. Uh, yeah,
Yeah, brilliant. So, we'll give you a small intro on what we're gonna talk about in this episode. We'll talk about the tactics of Erik ten Hag. Tactics in the sense, what is the system that we could see at United, and then the imminent transfers that we're hearing about. There is Frenkie de Jong, Malacia, maybe even Eriksen, and then all those things. A lot of topics to dive into. So Krishnan, you can start off with the questions.
yeah. So, Gert, the one thing we want to know about is like when I looked into Ten Hag, um, in Ajax he has played two different. He has created two different teams of Ajax. So first one went into the semi-finals till that season, and the other one is the latest season. So in both of the thing, in the first one you can say that it was a 4-2-3-1, and the second one it was around 4-3-3 or arguably 4-3-3. But when he went back and saw in Utrecht and all, he played a lot of different systems. It's not really like Ajax that he. It's like in Ajax he stick to that 4-3-3 position based system because Ajax is a club that is used to play that way. So he adapted to that. But in Utrecht, he changed according to the teams he faces. Like if he is facing a brilliant team or a team that is supposed to have the favorites who are supposed to win, then he changed his system accordingly. So do you think in United he will do that? Like because United is not really favorites to win the title, or there are better teams than us currently in the league. So do you think at the start of the thing he will go the Utrecht way and might be not go the Ajax way first of all?
I think so. Yes, I think you're quite right about that. He's basically what you're trying to say is that he is a fairly pragmatic manager, and he'll look what kind of players he has, and then tries to adapt his style accordingly. His preferred formation would quite possibly be 4-3-3, which can easily be a kind of hybrid formation, as it can switch back to 4-2-3-1 quite easily. But basically, I mean, if you look at United now and the amount of players they still need in order to compete again in the Premier League and possibly in the future in Europe, I'd say he will go for 4-2-3-1 at first. This is basically based on the players he has right now and and the players he might get in. You know, with Frenkie de Jong, he'll have a perfect player in the pivot, and then at the same time, you know, And whilst Frenkie de Jong gets used to the Premier League, he's got someone right next to him to help him, protect defense and make sure that he can do his work. If you look at defense, at the minute, pending incoming transfers, and there's not enough good ball playing centre halves, so that will make his job more difficult in order to, if you want to play 4-3-3. So I think based on the players he has right now, I think he's going to stick with 4-2-3-1 and perhaps tweak it in the next 2 or 3 months based on the improvement of the team. Because obviously, Man City play 4-3-3, but that is a different project, and they've had years to fine tune that. Whereas United, right at the start, they're at point zero. So. Yeah, so I agree. So basically, I think he'll walk in like he did at Utrecht and realizes this is a site I can work with, but it's not ideal yet. So I'm basically going to have to stick with what I have, and then in time, 4-3-3 will quite possibly be the system he will try to achieve.
Yeah. So in response to that, if you see the players we are linked with, we are now almost finalizing Malacia deal, and then Frank de Jong hopefully comes in, and now we are heavily linked with Martinez also from Ajax, and then Eriksen is linked. So do you think he might start off with like you said it is a 4-2-3-1? Even I thought so at first, but then the transfer dealings and transfer targets, and I am thinking, oh, this all suits for a three at the back system. So, do you think he might surprise everyone and go for that? Because if you see, we have Varane, Maguire, even though they all had a bad season, everyone in Manchester United had a bad season. But as Erik says itself, just before that season, we finished second. So everything is not bad out there. So there are players who can have a massive improvement. So do you think, even Arteta, when he went to Arsenal, he started with a 3-5-3 at the back system. So until the philosophy and the system of Ten Hag gets in, do you think he will go for a safe kind of formation, 3-5? I'm not saying 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, whatever it is, like three at the back, and then kindly transition into a four at the back system.
Potentially. Basically, what you say is basically 3-4-3, and the way Chelsea used to play. With two fairly attacking wing backs that could definitely work for United, and then you got more, and then he can. I think you're right, because then he can slowly progress into the 4-3-3 he prefers. But based on what I know of Ten Hag, is that he quite likely wouldn't like to start with 3 at the back because he knows the culture of Man United. You have to be on the front foot, and if you start out with 3 at the back, you automatically kind of give the perception to the public that you're basically like, that you're saying, I don't really trust my team. We're actually the weaker side. I'm just going to play counter-attacking football. I don't think that's what he wants. I'm not saying that he's not going to experiment with it in Thailand and Australia and Norway, but my guess is that he would still like to play with with 2 centre halves and quite possibly 2 wing backs. But you're quite right. I mean, based on the players he has and the opposition in the Premier League, he might just give it a go. But I have a feeling that he'll struggle and decide quite quickly to throw that overboard and just end that experiment there and then.
Yeah. So the next thing is, if you see the Ajax midfield, the first one, we had FDJ and De Jong and Shone. Then we had Donny van de Beek as a running 10, like a Lampard kind of 10. He comes into the box. He's not a creative 10. He comes into the box and scores goals. and all these things. He makes those invaluable runs and all this. Then he transitioned into a midfield where it was Alvarez who came into Ajax as a CB, I think. Then Ten Hag changed him to a defensive midfielder who kind of sits, and then Gravenberg who progresses the ball, and you have a Burgoyne who is a winger who is now playing as a 10 in the 10 position. So, what is this profile that he might go for in United? Like, if you see, we have Donny van de Beek, the same player that he had. Then, if you see, if Burgoyne, you can compare maybe to a Rashford or Sancho. And the Frank de Jong, we are hopefully that gets done. Then, so what is the there are bits and pieces, but what is the essential profile that he will go for at United for the midfield?
For the midfield, but in his best season in 2018-2019 when they reached the Champions League semi-final when I just nearly missed that against Tottenham to reach the final. Frenkie de Jong was his deep line midfielder. He basically picked up the ball just right in front of the defence and sort of dribbling with it, or sort of passing it out. That's definitely the kind of holding midfielder he would look for, and the play, and then right in front of that, two slightly more attacking-minded midfielders. Basically what you said, with Donny van de Beek on one side and another player on the other side. But in Europe, he quite often chose to play 4-2-3-1 as well, to give a little bit more extra protection, and then you can play with, let's say, Frenkie de Jong in a deep line position as one of the pivots, and at the same, and then right next to him, you could play with Donny van de Beek, who could do some defensive work, but also do the running into the box, as you mentioned, and then you can get the slightly more creative players on the outside, and that could basically be anyone. You could even convert a Sancho into a slightly more holding a midfielder in the mold of Frenkie de Jong. Skillful player, technically very good. But if you look at Sancho now, his defensive records last season weren't exactly great. He never tracked back, and that is something. And in a midfield of Ten Hag, that is the most important thing, and the work rate has to be incredibly high. So I think he's going to look for players who have the discipline. They don't necessarily have to be a perfect fit for that position, but as long as they have the discipline, are willing to learn, and are willing to track back, and I think that will be very, very interesting to see which players will fit that mold. And if you look at Ajax in the Eredivisie, he quite often played with Frenkie de Jong as a deep line player, and then just two right in front of it. The famous 4-3-3. But you can do that in the Eredivisie because the competition is fairly weak, and you have the ball a lot more. So my guess is that he's gonna try and strengthen the midfield. 1, 2, 3 creative players, or disciplined players, a deep line midfielder, and then 2 on the side players who can do a little bit more what they want, more free reign. So it'll just be interesting to see who he will be able to fit into that mold. I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah. So that kind of transition into my third question really well, because I am just coming into that Bruno question, because we didn't discuss Bruno as 10. So this is one thing that I want to ask you really badly, because if you just compare Bruno and Tadic, Bruno is just essentially another clone of Tadic or something. He's stat-wise and everything.
Yeah.
He's mostly probably an upgrade on Tadic, but his playing style and everything is similar to Tadic. So do you think he will go for a Tadic kind of role for Bruno? And And all this thing, right? If you see for this is another question in that itself. If you see in Ajax itself, he played Martinez came as a DM and then he pushed him to a LCB, and Alvaro came as a CB and he pushed him into a DM.
Yeah.
So do you think there will be changes like Rashford to a 10 and Luke Shaw maybe to a LCB? All these things he will do. So there are two questions. One is regarding the Bruno, and the other one is regarding these positional changes that he may do for players.
Oh, definitely. He'll definitely have a look at players and reassess them. You see quite often that, for example, your best wingers, turn out to be in later years to be the best fullbacks in the world. You see that all over the. Even Van Gaal did that with. I think Michael Reisiger in 1995. He started out as a winger, and he converted him into a fullback. Those are things that Ten Hag will definitely look at. But I think you're right about Bruno. He needs to get the best out of Bruno. And before the arrival of Cristiano Ronaldo, he was by far their best player. So what went wrong there? He clearly wants to play with Cristiano Ronaldo. Bruno, right behind Cristiano Ronaldo, doesn't seem to work necessarily.
Yeah.
So you're right. So I think you're right. So you might just give him, the target position, as he's going to have a go-to player who has the authority over the group, who knows what to do, who can take free kicks. So you just might put him on the outside, or even in a different role. It definitely would not surprise me. And Rashford as a 10, potentially, but I think Rashford has a lot of proving to do at this moment in time. I don't think he's necessarily going to start with him. So he's going to see over the summer, most likely, if he's going to buy into the plans, if his form will reach peak heights again. And if not, then he's probably going to go for alternatives, and that could perhaps be Bruno or any other player that might be able to step up in the summer period. So I do think we're going to see quite a few changes in positions. And you're right. Yeah, maybe Luke Shaw could be CB. You never know. I do think we're going to see some odd changes. Conte used to be quite good at that. He's kind of the same. And you even see it at Newcastle. A few players who just change position and suddenly everything seems to click. He's definitely that kind of manager. Right now, he'll be studying all the players, all their experts, and their stats. And hold on for a second. Bruno's been used as a 10 and has excelled, but perhaps if we just tweak his position a tiny little bit, then Cristiano Ronaldo would probably be even more involved in the final third. So we need a more complementary player, so to speak. Someone who's willing to give every single ball straight into the box, unlike Bruno, who also likes to score goals and do a little bit of fancy footwork and make things happen. So you could take him out of that position to kind of release him on another side. Yeah, it would be very interesting. I really can't wait for the first game because we're going to see quite a few tweaks.
Yeah. This is the same here. I hope that Haaland thing works with Bruno and Ronaldo. So kind of we can replicate that, then it will be really good. So Alan, you can start your you can take your
So I'm already excited about preseason after hearing both of you talk about the system and the positional changes. It's a mystery, it's the beautiful thing about football is that it's a mystery, especially under Erik ten Hag, because he's tactically flexible and you never know what you're going to get out of those players. Now coming to the exciting part, which most of the fans will be waiting to, that's the transfer window. So we are hearing some imminent transfers from the media. So let's start off with Geert. What is the initial reaction seeing Frenkie de Jong and Tyrell Malacia's a transfer getting closer to Manchester United? Because as a person from Holland, two of them, they are important players for the national team. Frenkie de Jong is pivotal, and Malacia came in. I think he played his first 5 games in the Nations League roundup. And for you as a journalist, it might be exciting to make more trips to Old Trafford, especially to cover Erik ten Hag and then important players from the Dutch national team. So you might be getting some, big scoops and long stories to talk about in the future. What is your thoughts about it? Your reaction to the signing at United?
I think it's absolutely brilliant. I really can't wait for the particularly the Frenkie de Jong deal to finally reach the end. I've been told that Eriksen has basically been told, all right, we start with one signing at the time. So his top priority is Frenkie de Jong. So once that deal is out of the way, he can move on to the next. So that gives us fans, journalists, quite a bit of hope. Given the fact that Frenkie de Jong is their top priority and they're going to get it over the line. And as a football fan, I'd love to see him in his own role again because of Barcelona, Busquets played in his deep line midfield role. It doesn't come natural to him. And so he's been, I wouldn't say struggling, but he hasn't particularly shown as much as he could have done. And everybody knows that he would really like to stay in Barcelona because it's his dream club. But I think he could do a really, really good job in the Premier League and could be one of their superstars. So I have a feeling he might come around to playing in the Premier League. And Tyrell Malacia, he's one of the most exciting prospects in Dutch football. It has been a really long time since a player made the jump from Feyenoord to the Premier League. I believe Geert was the last one. He did really well for Liverpool. Tyrell Malacia is basically uncharted territory. He's burst onto the scene. He's been coveted by many youth managers. Erik ten Hag already wanted to get him when he was at Ajax, and he was still part of the youth academy. Then he decided to stay in Rotterdam. It's basically based on his physicality, his swagger. He definitely has the Man United swagger that's needed. He will not be faced by big crowds or big opponents. He's tactically very sound, so he'll be able to tweak his game quickly, and I think it's super exciting. And yes, hopefully after matches, we might be able to get some scoops in.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's brilliant. Like, coming to Frenkie de Jong first, from a tactical perspective, what can United fans expect from this player? You mentioned earlier that he's a ball carrier. He, links well with the defense. He can play the libero role really well as bring the ball out from the back, and then it helps in synchronizing the team as well, especially if they're playing in a good possession system. So what all strengths can Premier League fans expect from Frenkie de Jong at United, from your understanding, on a much larger level?
Yeah. So what fans of the Premier League mightn't realise is that yes, he's very slender, and he might come across as not a very physical player, but he basically reminds us a little bit of someone in the mold of Conte, like two players in one. Conte has a massive lung capacity and is also a fairly good footballer. Frenkie de Jong is not only a really good ball carrier, but defensively he's very sound. He's very good to intercept attacks and get the ball back for the team. So if you want to play pressing football, he is one of the ideal. He's the ideal players. So what you had for United in the past was that everything went really ponderous, from the back to Fred or McTominay, and then it would stop for a little bit, and then all creativity would just fade away. And balls to the side. Frenkie de Jong is always about playing forward. So you'll see much faster, quicker, more intuitive football, intelligent football. So his vision from the start has been really good. So his passing range will be able to get players like Sancho and Rashford, who were struggling based on a lack of good distribution last season, and they will be profiting massively because Frenkie de Jong can immediately ping a ball to either side as well. And at the same time, he can score goals, but I wouldn't expect too many goals from him because that is not his main strength. His main strength is just to make the team tick. In that sense, he is the perfect Barcelona player. He just wasn't used in his preferred role based on the fact that in Busquets they still have a similar superstar. So fans and people can expect it's just someone who will reinvigorate the team and will be able to dictate at the pace of a game. So basically, based on his footwork, his passing range, games will suddenly get into gear. And that's exactly what United have been waiting for a very long time, because that stigma of being ponderous, not creative enough. And with him, you get a player who can open up defenses with a pass, and can also make, and can also see, the pre-assist as see runs of players a lot quicker than Fred or McTominay could, or the players in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. His vision is superb. Like, I've watched quite a few Barcelona games, and even if his spell was dry at Barcelona, he was certainly a good player. Only issue was that they couldn't use him in the right position because of Sergio Busquets at Barcelona. Now coming to it's a concern about most of the United fans, especially on social media, that once you sign Frenkie de Jong, shouldn't we bring in a center defensive midfielder? Shouldn't there be another midfielder to help Frenkie de Jong? What I feel is that what United have right now in terms of Fred as well as Scott McTominay will help him here, because as you mentioned earlier regarding commitment and desire to learn and work harder, I think those are the characters that we have at United. Only issue is, if more coaching is given to those players in terms of bringing in the right approach into the team, I think they can certainly improve. So what is your thoughts on it? Should we buy another midfielder, or just stick with McTominay or Fred, one of them? And who do you think among the two will be more suited to play as a pivot with De Jong?
I think at the minute, given the amount of money United have at their disposal in the transfer market, I think he's going to stick with what he has now. So I'm pretty sure he would like to get more defensive midfielders in, but he can't. So yes, and there's either McTominay or Fred. Based on McTominay's transformation, physical transformation in the last couple of months, from a fairly scrawny Scotsman, he's become huge. So he clearly wants the role, but Fred's versatility would probably work very well with Frenkie de Jong. He seems to be, particularly in the last season, I never expected to see that, but he's actually the better player. I think his footballing skills are better than McTominay, and he's also more prone to be disciplined enough to assist players and serve players such as Frenkie de Jong. So, and defensively, on his day, he can be good as anyone. And McTominay, I think, in Ten Hag's view, on the ball is not quite good enough, and Fred seems to be slightly better. So that will be my double pivot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What you said there, I think even I feel it is Fred here, and McTominay also has a good chance. But Fred, especially under Ralph Rangnick, his resurgence has been something else. When he's on form, he's quite consistent too in the midfield. We know what we are going to get out of a player like Fred. So coming to the next question, as you mentioned earlier, like there is this issue that Frankie's favorite club is Barcelona. Like he wanted to stay there, but he's being forced out because of the financial issues at the club. So what kind of a personality or a character can United expect? Like, do you think Frankie will be, a bit reluctant in the beginning? Like, the crowd at Old Trafford as well as Camp Nou, both of them fairly huge crowd, charismatic, and already, I guess, United fans might be even having a chant prepared for Frenkie de Jong. So, do you think the Old Trafford crowd can set up that vibe in into Frenkie to help himself accommodate at United? Because I can understand why Frenkie is a bit scared to move to the Premier League currently. He is appealed by the move to work with Erik ten Hag, but the issue is, he has to relocate. He already bought a house with his girlfriend in Catalonia, so relocating from there is a bit of a difficulty. So, what do you think? Do you think Frankie will be able to adapt initially, or will the Old Trafford crowd, with the charisma that we are providing, will he be able to empower himself from the start?
Oh, I definitely think so. I definitely think so. Obviously, everybody knows basically that as a kid, where his parents, he used to go to the surrounding areas of Barcelona. That's where he holiday. That's the place he loves. It's Johan Cruyff used to play there. There's loads of Dutch players have played there, and he clearly doesn't want to leave, being perceived as a failure. And at the same time, he's also a bit of a politician. He needs to play the club's work, as in, if you say you don't really want to go, it means the price stays high. If you say, oh, I can't wait to go to Old Trafford, the price will automatically plummet. So he's basically being his own agent at this moment in time. So everything will be smoothened out eventually. It's just a bit of politics. And oh yes, I definitely think that Old Trafford will give him a new burst of energy, and I really think that his new role, the deep line midfield role, will also inspire him to finally become the player that he used to be at Ajax, but now at a much higher level. So I think the prospect of knowing, because he's quite ambitious and he knows how good he is, that he could potentially be one of the bright stars in the Premier League will definitely give him that a little bit of extra boost. And you all know that Old Trafford, quite possibly, is a lot more atmospheric than the Camp Nou. Yeah, it's a bigger stadium, but the fans at Old Trafford are more passionate. They're fairly closer to the pitch, and they're not fair weather supporters either. They will back the team non-stop, and if they see a player who's willing to put in the shift and can make a pass, we've seen it with Cristiano Ronaldo in his debut. We've seen it with Bruno after a few good games. They'll take to him, and then suddenly he will realise, well, you know what, Manchester isn't too bad, and I can do without the sun. I can actually go and visit that in this, maybe on my holidays.
Brilliant. You sell it. I think you just said the right words there to sell this idea to Frenkie de Jong to come to United. Brilliant. Yeah. And I hope Louis van Gaal will be happy as well when he comes to United, like in terms of improving himself under Erik ten Hag into another level. That'll definitely help the national team as well ahead of the World Cup. So yeah, coming to Tyrell Malacia, Christian will ask the rest of the questions regarding Tyrell Malacia. So go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, thank you. One thing I want to clarify, Alan. It's not Frank de Jong's girlfriend anymore. It's his fiancée, as of yesterday.
Yeah, he got engaged, right? Yesterday, yes.
Yeah. So then, moving to that, before Malachi, I just need one question to ask to Geert regarding one thing. I'm just bringing up the Lisandro Martinez topic before also. So the thing is, you said that De Jong needs to he will play that DLP role, and Fred is the most suitable pivot player to play alongside him. I kind of agree with that. But then if you see Martinez, when we are signing Martinez can play defensive midfield also. So he has played as defensive midfield in Ajax one season. And then, but the problem is Martinez, I think Martinez prefers to play because he's left-footed. Martinez prefers to play in the left-hand side. And De Jong also, whenever I see him, he plays in that left side midfield role. And he drops even to a left back in Ajax system. He drops to even a left back role to progress the ball. So will those two a pairing in midfield that Ten Hag might consider, so that Martinez can when in possession, in out of possession, Martinez can be the third CB needed from DM to dropping down.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think both. And I definitely have a feeling that in pre-season, they're going to test if Frenkie de Jong does come in, and if both of them come in, to see if they can work as a couple. Because he clearly believes that Lisandro Martinez is better than both McTominay and Fred. So, but this gives him options. He can either play as a centre back. It gives him at least some extra options behind what they have right now, or perhaps even a starting berth. At the same time, it gives you options in midfield. I don't really think, because I remember seeing that at Ajax, that Frenkie de Jong really minds if he suddenly has to switch to the right pivot, because basically in game you can basically kind of adapt to that. And the way he plays at Barcelona from the left quite often is also because he can then go inside and use his preferred right foot. So in that sense, coming more from a central position, I don't necessarily think it should be a problem. But obviously they have to figure out how complementary the two are. But a Ten Hag like Louis van Gaal, like versatile players who can play in multiple positions. So based on the game, on the opponent, he might pick a Martinez as a pivot. And good spell back news for Scott McTominay, who's slightly more of a blunt force, and now he's had more technical news and technical news at his disposal. So I think you're right. It was a very interesting experiment to see to unfold. But he might be Nostradamus in that sense, because that looks brilliant if that's going to work. Them two together, Frenkie de Jong and Martinez.
Even for Scott McTominay, I think eventually Ten Hag will use him. Like he plays as a right-handed CB for his national team, Scotland. So eventually, I think now, because we don't have numbers in midfield, he will stay in midfield. But eventually, I think Ten Hag will be thinking of using him as a CB because I think he is much more suitable to that, in my opinion. So moving to Malacia. So do you think, I have seen Malacia probably in one of the Netherlands match, but I haven't seen him much. Apart from that, I have read a lot of scouting reports and everything, and seen a lot of comparison. And apart from that, I don't know what kind of thing he is bringing. So in Malacia, so do you think he will go for he's a player like Daily Blind, who can do that third CB kind of thing that Ajax do with one of the fullbacks? Or he's a Masrai type of player who inverts into the midfield and try to progress the ball. So which one is the Malacia?
I would see Malacia more as a threat to Luke Shaw's position at first. Yes, he's very versatile. Do you remember Terence Congolo? He also came from Feyenoord when he went to France first.
Yeah.
He was also a player who could both, as fullback, wingback, and left CB. He could do both easily. I think he ended up at Huddersfield Town after a fairly bad spell in France, but technically and versatility-wise, similar players in that sense. So given the fact that he's still quite young and needs to adapt to the new team, full back first, and I could potentially progress him into a more central position, because that's also very much the Dutch philosophy. You more or less identify centre half, but at a young age, you put him you basically use him as a fullback at first or in midfield. I don't necessarily think that Ten Hag sees him as a midfielder, but you'll never know in 1 or 2 seasons' time. But I think he wants more speed and he wants more flair on the wings, on the side, and someone who is defensively very, very sound and slightly more trustworthy than what is at United's disposal at this moment.
Okay. So now moving on to the next question. This is regarding Eriksen. We are rumored to put an offer for him, and we don't know who is he's going to choose. It's entirely up to him. But if Eriksen comes in, there is been talks that Ten Hag really wants Eriksen in his team. So if Eriksen comes in last season in Brentford, he almost played as a CM, central midfield. He hasn't played in the like everyone thinks when Eriksen names pops up, they always think about the Spurs spell, where he almost played in a very wide position and right wing and all, and was really a tandem to Kane. But in Brentford, he almost played as one of the pivots, and he created a lot of he created a lot of chances, and he was really good. So, do you think Ten Hag is going to utilize him as a midfielder rather than an attacking midfielder, or do you think he is coming as a backup to whoever plays the 10? If it is Bruno, or whoever plays the 10?
I think Ten Hag will see him as as one of the pivots first and foremost. He's not the most tall player, physically not the strongest, but his passing rate will and his work rate will definitely help there. And basically based on, because I went to see Brentford quite a few times, it was amazing to see. He basically ran the show from start to finish. After he came in, suddenly Brentford's fortunes completely changed. He was that good a player. I think he's 30 now, just turned 30. As a pivot, he'd probably be at his best. But of course, he does have the skills to also be a backup player for Bruno. So basically, if he gets in, he gets 2 players in one. But I think based on his past, his medical past, I think he's going to be used as a backup player at first, as someone who can do a job on a given day.
Yeah. So that's Alan, you can take over.
So adding another question regarding Christian Eriksen, I want to continue our previous conversation from 2020. When we had this chat, you showed, you talked about some similarities with some of the players who played in the Eredivisie with Donny van de Beek, like Davy Klaassen, then Dennis Bergkamp, and then one of them was Christian Eriksen. In terms of his flair and the runs that he used to make inside the box. Do you think Ten Hag might be planning Eriksen's arrival as a guidance to Donny van de Beek, who has, struggled to find resurgence in his career at Manchester United? Do you think Eriksen can definitely help Donny to step up? Because last time we saw Edinson Cavani coming in and helping players like Rashford to perform well, especially bringing in those poacher instincts into those players. Do you think Eriksen can do something similar with the number 10s at United, not just Donny van de Beek, but even Bruno Fernandes? Because I think he is the example of that perfect player coming from Eredivisie to the Premier League and then playing successfully for Tottenham. And I think he was the marquee player at Tottenham at one point, even before Kane was scoring and doing well for Tottenham. So what do you think?
No, I definitely agree with you. Christian Eriksen, and when he came into to Brentford, you could basically see right in front of your eyes what he's capable of. Telling mediocre players what they should do in order to achieve big things. And that's exactly what he did. He made sure that they stayed in the Premier League. Their strikers suddenly started to function again. Everything started to work basically based on him telling players what to do, pointing them where to go. Donny van der Beek would definitely benefit from having a one-to-one talk and a few training sessions with him, because as good as Donny van der Beek potentially is, at United he didn't necessarily excel. Defensively, he kind of dropped the ball quite often. No pun intended, but that's kind of what he did often. That he made crucial mistakes in crucial positions of the pitch. That is something Christian Eriksen would never do. And he would tell him, like, listen, yes, you are a flair player, but you need to do the job, and it's better to stay deeper, or better to open your body up here, or look at that player from the opposition on that side. You need to cover it. You need to make sure there's cover for that. So I definitely think that he could have a massive influence on Donny van der Beek, but also the other midfield players, is to make them realise what is required to operate as a team. Because Christian Eriksen, as good as he is, I think he's the ideal team player. He makes a team tick, and he can make players understand what they need to do in order to form a unit that can perform. It is what we've seen at at Liverpool, where a few players orchestrate the whole show, make sure that the gaps between defense and midfield are not too big, that the attacking players look where the ball is coming from, and make the runs at the right moment. You see a hand going up, or a finger, or that's exactly what Christian Eriksen can do as well. So for me, it would be a super signing, both on the training pitch and in some matches as well. When things are getting stuck, you get him on the pitch, and within 5 seconds he asks for the ball and kind of with his body, not even his voice. He's not a massive talker, but just he just pushes people into the right direction with his presence and the way he plays. And Eriksen who likes plays like that. And the good thing is he's fluent in Dutch as well, Christian Eriksen. So they have that language in common as well. So he could definitely be more than just an extra player, but also perhaps someone who could be a coach on the pitch.
Yeah, perfect. That's well answered. I think his ball retention really helps the team. At the end of the day, I think that's going to be advantageous to United, especially as a free agent. We're not sure yet if he's going to join us or not, but I really hope he joins us in the coming days. Final question, Gert. So we're going to end the session by we had asked you about this.
I have one more question, so you can ask. And we'll just
we'll do that. It was regarding Lisandro Martinez, which Christian had already discussed. So I'm not going into it in depth, but Christian, do you have any questions regarding Lisandro?
No, I think Lisandro. I think we have discussed regarding Lisandro.
Yes.
So I'm just going to ask about two things. One about the Ronaldo and Haller. If Ten Hag is going to, because Ronaldo is already available for, hopefully he's available for this season. We don't know, but if he's available for this season, and Ten Hag has said in his first press conference, what does Ronaldo bring? He just said goals. So what do you think? Like when I see Haller, Haller only presses one of the defenders, and he leaves it for the rest of it. He just then he moves, try to break the lines of passing to the other defender, the wide defender. But apart from that, the pressing is done by the others, right? And if Haller is really good at aerially, and Cristiano is really good at aerially. So, do you think Cristiano can do that Haller type of role? And another thing is, David De Gea. He's not really the modern GK. He's really good GK in terms of short stopping and all, but he's not really a modern GK. And do you think Ten Hag will improve him to his system, or the modern GK kind of thing, or he will eventually try to move De Gea on?
Yeah, well, to answer your first question, yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo could definitely play the Haller role. I mean, they work great. Yeah, if you look at tracking back, both is not fantastic, but they can score goals. And I think what Ten Hag meant, even though it was just a political answer, but there was more to it. Score goals. He will get free reign. All he has to do is more or less wait for other players to give him the ball at the right moment and finish. Which is another reason why I think he's gonna initially start with 4-2-3-1 because then there's enough protection behind Ronaldo. He doesn't have to do the dirty work. Yes, I definitely think that Ten Hag will create a situation where he can play that role. And of course, if an opponent requires 11 players to work tirelessly, then he might just bench him. And unlike Solskjaer and Rangnick, he will definitely put him on the bench if that's necessary. And your second question about De Gea, that's an interesting one. We know that he's working on his game right now. He tries to improve his distribution. I actually spoke about it with a colleague 2 days ago, and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "It wouldn't surprise me if in the summer he might do a Pep Guardiola. What he did with the former English goalie. Sorry, exactly, Gerrard." And he said, "I'm sorry, I don't need you anymore because you cannot do what I want you to do." And he got Claudio Bravo in. Well, that wasn't a great success, but obviously Ederson is incredible, and that's the kind of goal he's looking for. If you look at their budget, can they actually get the goalkeeper in that he wants? Are there any goalies out there that are at least are affordable to do that? I don't think so, not at this moment in time. So I have a feeling that he's already identified that he doesn't want De Gea, that he's going to try and improve him as much as he can, and perhaps he's going to surprise him. But maybe in the winter transfer window or the next summer transfer window, I think he's going to be out of the door and be replaced by a more modern, more versatile player. And I have a feeling he listened quite well to the Spanish manager, who also no longer calls him up and doesn't see him as a fit choice for the Spanish team. So it might be his last season.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have a feeling that the luckiest person might be the second goalkeeper in United, because during the season it may not be the budget to sign a new starting GK, and Henderson has moved to Nottingham Forest. So someone is coming as a second GK. I don't know who is that, but he might be the luckiest person because he can probably get an audition for the number one spot for 3 months or 2 months later down the season. So
I think so as well. That's an interesting one.
Yeah. I think even Tom Heaton is, he's closely watching the situation to see when to pounce onto the number one spot. So final round of question. This is the final question. It's a prediction. So what do you expect Ten Hag? Which position do you expect Ten Hag to finish in? I know it's too early right now, but if Ten Hag needs to stay in his job and get backing in next summer in terms of bringing in new players, Champions League football is essential in my opinion. I think that's the parameter the Glazers are and John Murtough as well as Richard Arnold are setting. So I think personally, finishing at least top 4 is mandatory, but I wouldn't be disappointed even if we miss out on top 4 because always getting into the higher echelon positions in the Premier League is difficult in first season. You need to find the best squad and then drill them, and it's a World Cup year as well. We cannot say if all the players will be available. Some might be injured, so some might be cautious as well. So what do you think about next season? What's your prediction?
My hopeful prediction is that he's going to end, at least he's going to end up 4th. Because as we know, as you mentioned, all the previous managers who didn't qualify for the Champions League were kicked out. They were sacked more like straight away. So he needs to qualify for the Champions League, even though right now the people upstairs say that in his first season he doesn't have to excel. But given the status of the club, that's what he needs to do. Will he manage? I'm not too sure. I think I'd say fifth at best. Yeah.
What do you think, Krish? What could be the?
No, I think he's definitely staying on the job. Whether he finished, whether if he, yeah, he's definitely staying on the job. That's a guarantee because he. That's why even the negotiation took that much time. Because he has clearly mentioned to them that this is not a 1-year project. This is a long-term project.
Right.
Yeah, so he's definitely staying on the job. But as Gert said, I think we will like it will be tough with Conte and how much money Spurs are spending and all these things. But I think even with all these players gone, right? Even if you take all these players out and without any additions, Ten Hag improves the current players. I think still we can fight for top 4. There is a squad there to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I hope we can do the top 4. At least challenge for top 4. And then we never know with the World Cup thing what is going to happen. We never know. And my hopeful thing is like in 2 seasons he wins one of the trophies. Even Carabao Cup is enough.
Yeah. Even the smallest trophy, if he's able to win Carabao Cup, as you said, that's a major achievement for this team because we've been going through a dry spell in terms of major honors. And
not only that, like if he won one silverware, right, you have that in your pocket, like you will get tight.
It elevates the team as well. Confidence is a major
confidence
factor.
Like so there is always a, if you see in Tottenham, UCL loss, then there is a huge drop down and Poch getting sacked. If you see in United, Ole was flying high. There are 4 or 5 semi-final loss, then UEL final loss, and there was a huge drop down. So I hopefully 2 years time we get a trophy. That's what my hopeful prediction is.
Yes. So thanks for joining us in this discussion, Gert. It was amazing to have you because we talked a lot. I think both Krishnan and I, we got a lot of insights from you from the talks, especially in terms of the tactics and the players who are coming in. We hope to meet you again. Follow Gert on his Twitter handle. We'll be posting it down below on our YouTube link. So his works are also found in Algemeen Dagblad. It's a Netherlands-based newspaper. It's very reliable outlet. They post exclusives at times. So if some transfer breaks or if there's an exclusive story, especially with Gert covering the Premier League here in Great Britain, we might get some good stories as well. So watch out for his link in the future. So thanks a lot, Gert. Thanks a lot, Krish, for participating in this discussion. Yeah. And have a good weekend. Yeah, have a good break as well, Gert.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So happy.
Have a good break.
All great. Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.